live now right here on Facebook Live. We're also live on the radio. So coming up in just a minute on WCRS 98.5 FM, 1450 AM. We are now live on Facebook. We are live on the radio. And do I have a guest today? Yes, I do. I have Susan Jones. She has been a teacher, a competitor, an advocate, an entrepreneur, and the president of a nonprofit. She is going to tell us the story about how she got into beekeeping and how afeared she was of beekeeping and how it has developed into her passion. She also teaches over at John Delahowe School of Agriculture. She is the person that knows all about bees and has taken, I would have to say, taken that school to a new level with all the awards and everything that they're winning. Plus, they have gotten some nice grants from Duke Energy. I want to talk about some of that and how that is expanding the program. So, without further ado, let me introduce Susan Jones. Susan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well today, Ann. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we met at a meeting, and in fact, it was your husband that said, you know, I listen to you every day.
He sure did.
While he's on his tractor.
Yes.
I have people listening doing all different things, and it was quite a great conversation, and I enjoyed it. And he goes, I want you to meet my wife. And we started talking what you did, and you are a beekeeper. What is that called? What do they call beekeepers?
Well, the technical term is apiculturist.
Right.
So apis, you know, being apis bee in the Latin. So I'm an apiculturist, and I specialize in bees and pollinators.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have quite an interesting story from somebody that was deathly afraid of them to now having bees and teaching people about bees. Why don't you tell us how you got into bees?
Sure. Well, as a youngster, I was probably 5-6 years old, playing in the yard with my cousin, and she got stung by a bee. Must have stepped on it. We were barefoot, and she had an anaphylactic shock reaction. Landed her in the hospital, almost died. And for a youngster, seeing your cousin taken away in an ambulance, it was traumatic.
Absolutely.
And I was like, didn't want to have anything with a stinger. I didn't want anything to do with it. And so fast forward to being a young mom. I grew up on the back of a horse. We had horses, and my husband had just retired from a government job, and we'd moved back to South Carolina, and just so happened that the gentleman that came to shoe our horses was a third-generation beekeeper. His family is all over the Lawrence area down here in this area, and every time he would come, he'd tell me bee stories. You should have bees here. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
He thought the property that you had there was perfect.
Exactly, because we had a large acreage. It hadn't been farmed in a long time, and a lot of good hardwood trees. We didn't have any commercial farming around us, so we didn't have risk of pesticides and that kind of thing, that herbicides that could be harmful to bees. Perfect place for them. And I said, no, I can't do this. And 2 years go by, and he shows up one spring with 2 working beehives on the back of his truck and says, they're yours. And I kind of looked at my husband and I said, not me. And so he had just retired from his federal job, and he said, well, I guess I'll be the beekeeper. So he was for the first couple years, and then he got started in another second career in real estate, and by about the 3rd or 4th winter, the bees didn't make it. And meanwhile, I'm gardening more and more, and I'm loving it, and I saw the difference of what my garden did before bees,
right,
and then my garden after bees. And with bees, I mean, I had maybe a 15-foot row of cantaloupe that was just producing like crazy. I was giving it away at church every Sunday because we're not going to eat all this.
Right.
Then without bees, the next year, I maybe got 2 or 3 cantaloupe. And,
wow.
and I mean, the difference was so stark that I was like, I'm not going to bother to garden anymore if we don't have bees. And my husband kind of looked at me and he said, I don't have time for that, but if
right.
you want to do it, I'll kind of help you. Meanwhile, the farriers come in every 6 to 8 weeks saying, I'll mentor you, I'll help you. So I finally ordered my bees. And I I laugh now because I look back. I asked my mother to go with me in my little minivan up to Pickens to pick up my bees. And when I arrived, they have this huge box truck with all these packages of bees on the back of it, and there's loose bees flying everywhere. And I'm just
Did you have some anxiety?
I have to get out of my van. I'm like, no, I didn't even bring a bee suit. But there were other people walking around, so I finally figured, well, if they're okay, maybe I'll be okay too. And I finally got the courage, and I got out, and I held it very carefully, stuck it in the back of my van, turned the air conditioning on really, really cold, and caused the bees to stay in the back of the van away from me, and we made it home. And I put on my suit, and I got those bees installed in their box, and let me tell you, that started an adventure of over 20 years. And I have absolutely just loved every minute of it. So.
What? Now, wait a minute. How can you have a relationship with bees? I have a dog. I understand that. But how do you have a relationship? And I've got a friend who's really into chickens. So tell me how you have a relationship with bees, honey.
Well, I don't have a relationship with them. It is a kind of a partnership. I do this whole lecture that pollinators, they need us, we need them. It is this mutual working together.
Right.
They need us, we need them in order. I mean, kind of a third of or more of everything that we eat is dependent on a pollinator.
Wow.
So if we don't have them, we don't protect them, we're going to lose all the wonderful, yummy things that you eat that has any color at all. Your fruits, your vegetables, your bright, yummy things. I mean, if you want a bland diet, okay, don't protect your pollinators. But
now, several years ago, Greenwood became a bee city.
Mm-hmm.
And you were telling me that actually the Lakelands Beekeepers Association here is one of the largest, is pretty large.
It is a good club. It is a good-sized club, and we have a number of master beekeepers in that club. There are probably 30 affiliated clubs with the South Carolina Beekeepers Association statewide. There are more that are still coming on board, but there's very few that have that many master beekeepers in their club. It's growing. We're getting more and more, which is wonderful. Mm-hmm. But this area has a great privilege to have a number of good experts in our area.
Now, what does it mean that we're a bee city? What does that actually mean to our community?
It means that we put a focus and a concentration on protecting bees, promoting bees, and being a part of that as a culture in our city, which is wonderful.
Yes. So I know that this has been a big deal, and we have worked very hard on it. In fact, Uptown Greenwood always has a lot of flowers and everything. But what you're telling us, that if you want to have good veggies, you've got to have pollinators.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, even those that don't necessarily require pollinators, they set seed better, they produce better fruit when you have pollinators present. And it doesn't always have to be a honeybee. I don't just work with honeybees. I promote the native bees as well. The native pollinators, some of those actually pollinate a little bit better. The problem is that on the mass scale of commercial agriculture, we cannot manage the native pollinators to the scale that we can the honeybees. And so that's where they bring their huge value.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't understand that, and I didn't know we have native bees to our area, and native bees, I guess, across the country. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do they like certain things better than other bees?
Well, there are certain plants that certain native pollinators depend on. Like, for example, and this kind of goes in, we'll probably talk later more about specific plants and things that you can plant for bees, but certain pollinators need certain plants to even complete their life cycle, like the monarch butterfly, needs the milkweed.
Right.
So
I've seen where you can get, right now, they're trying to get you to get them and put them on your property, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And now's the time to plant it, is in the fall, the milkweed. Mm-hmm.
So do you still garden?
A little bit.
Eh?
A little bit.
Do you have bees at home?
I do have bees. I have 20 bee colonies at home.
You live in Hodges, right?
I do. I live in Hodges, but I live on the Greenwood side, so
Okay.
I'm fairly close to
So
you
do
here.
our bees come across the line, or do they stay in Hodges? I mean, I just need to know.
Well, the bees will fly 3 to 5 miles to forage.
Really?
Yes, they will. So, and
Can
that's
you keep your bees at home by having lots of gardening so they don't travel, or are they still going to travel?
they're going to travel if they need it. Let's put it that way. Our
How do
property
you
has.
know? How do you know a bee traveled? I'm sorry, this could be very interesting.
It
Do you
could.
have a little thing on it that says how far they traveled today?
I am sure some researchers have studied this and have tracked it, but I personally have not.
Not, right.
But I do know the research shows that they'll travel if they need to survive.
Right.
But bees are one of those things. You've heard that term beeline.
Right.
A bee doesn't zigzag to go places. It's going
Okay.
to go where it's going, get there, and come back. You know,
So they
they're on a
make it,
mission.
beeline, yes.
Yes, they're
okay.
going to make that beeline. And so and they have something that's called this flower fidelity. Once they find something they like, they're going to work it until it's gone. So they're not going to go get a little apple here and a little
So the
dandelion
likelihood
here.
of cross-pollination is not really very great if they find something they really like. Is
they're
that
gonna
true?
they're gonna stick with it, and then when that's exhausted, then they'll go get something else, and then they'll go get something else, and so there's constantly the groups within a beehive that are kind of competing for what are we going to go for next, and they do these little dances, and they do this
The dance of the bees.
they do this little
And you
waggle
watch
dance,
this, right?
Oh yes, you can watch this in the beehive. They do this little figure 8 dance,
Right.
And they
is that
waggle their
wait a
bums.
minute, is that their happy dance?
Yes. Yeah, it's their happy dance. They are communicating. See, bees don't talk.
Right.
They communicate through smells or pheromones.
Right.
And they communicate through dances. And so they will do this dance at an angle relative to the sun to show their nest mates where that specific flower source or nectar source is. It is the most fascinating thing you've ever seen in my life.
Well, see, now I learned something new today.
Yes.
Bee dancing.
Bee dancing.
Bee dancing, that's right. And so that's how they communicate where they're going to go.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. And so do you have a group of them kind of like in a line dance or something?
Well, usually what happens is you'll have one bee that is just very vigorously doing that little dance,
Right.
and you'll have bees that it's attracting to what they're doing. And sometimes that bee that's dancing will stop. She'll give, because bees will collect the nectar in what we call their honey crop or their honey stomach,
Right.
and they'll give their sisters a little taste of that honey.
Oh, so
she's
they
kind
share a
of
little bit.
enticing them. This is what it tastes like. Now, here's where you go to get it. And she'll do that dance again. And what she's doing is she's recruiting them to now go with her to go get more.
And the purpose of this, from the bee's perspective, is what? What is the bee's reason for existence?
Okay, the bees have this cycle
Right.
where they're going to go out. They're hoarders. They're going to go out and collect as much as they possibly can. And what they collect is pollen. That's their protein, and they're going to collect nectar, which is their carbohydrate. And they're going to collect as much as they possibly can, put it up in excess, which is why we can harvest some as honey. And then, so that they survive the winter. Because if they don't, and we have a really bad winter, they all die. So it's all for one, one for all. They're going to work hard together so they can all work together to survive. Then come spring, we have what's called colony reproduction. In the spring, when there's an abundance of nectar and pollen and lots of baby bees, the colony itself will split. They'll raise a new queen in the colony. The old queen and half the bees will leave, make a home somewhere else. So now you have just reproduced the colony in and of itself. And then that whole
So the
process
old
starts over
queen
again.
and the old guys all leave together to find a new home to hang out with.
Yes, leaving instead of you kicking the new, your kids
Kids
out.
out.
No, it's the parent, it's the mom queen leaves with half the bees. So it's a little bit different, but that's kind of the life cycle,
cycle
of a
of
colony
life,
and
yes.
the way it works. Yes.
Yes, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Well, and what about the sound that they make? I mean, do you find that soothing, or what do you feel about the sound?
It can be soothing.
Yes.
And to someone, okay, I've been beekeeping, 20, going on 23 years now. The sound can be soothing if it's just that gentle hum of the bee colony.
Right.
Okay? But sometimes when you have a colony that's been disturbed too much, say it has a pest, or it has, say a skunk's been bothering that colony at night or something, you go to open that beehive up, and those bees can be, ooh, yes, the sound changes, and you learn to pick up that sound.
Really?
And you know, they're not happy. And you know, okay, I need to back off and not work these bees today.
Right.
Or sometimes you'll have new queens. Usually when a colony is reproducing, they won't just produce one queen. They'll produce several dozen sometimes.
Several dozen queens?
Several dozen queens.
Then we have to have a beauty pageant, I guess, to see who's going to be the queen. How does this work?
It's not a beauty pageant. It's an all-out war, unfortunately.
All-out war?
Yes.
This is fascinating. Is anybody else finding this fascinating? 864-332. You got to give me a call, 9355. If you are interested in bees, send me a message. Let us know what you think in here. So it's an all-out war.
It is an all-out war. And the new queens actually will fight it out till the death, until one emerges as the queen.
And how do they fight it out? Do they sting each other?
They sting. And interesting enough is that both the workers and the queens have stingers, but the workers have a barb stinger. Queens don't. So they can sting multiple times and not lose their stinger, not be damaged. Whereas a worker, they sting you once, and when they pull out, it destroys their system and they die. So a honeybee, when they sting you and they sacrifice themselves for the good of the colony, to protect the colony. So queen can sting, and but what's so interesting is these queens smack talk each other.
Smack talk?
Yes. They actually have this piping sound where it's like this, they kind of toot and pipe in the colony. And so sometimes I'll hear it without even opening the box of the hive. I can hear it and I'm like, that colony's got some new queens in there because they're talking to each other. And it's very, very fascinating. And that's why I love beekeeping so much. It's different.
Now, I would be interested with all this good talk here. And what one of the things that would interest me is, how are did you get students that actually are fascinated by it? I would think a lot of kids would go, oh yeah, beekeeping. All right, next.
Well, at the ag school, it's interesting because you have, I would say, probably 60 to 70% of our students have an ag background.
Okay.
And then we have some
Meaning
that don't.
They've grown up around farming.
They've grown up with it. They've been in ag classes. They're actively showing horses or animals of some kind, or they're into
4-H,
tractors.
they were into 4-H.
Yes. But then there's a few that are not, but they have an interest. And we don't turn those away, you know. They want to come to our ag school. And a lot of times, at least the first year, we've just started our second year with beekeeping, so our program is new. The first year I had 6 dedicated students, and of those 6, only 1 or 2 had ag backgrounds. The rest of them just kind of were fringe, didn't really fit in other groups, and they just kind of were kind of eclectic. And I'm like, come on, come work bees with me. See if you like it. If you don't like it, you can pick something else.
Right.
But come try it. Come see. And we call them hive dives.
Hive
dives, D-I-V-E, hive dive, rhyme. And let's go dive in a hive. Let's go look and see what you think. And usually that's all it takes. They're like, wow, I can't believe this. If you can get them over that first, I'm going to be in contact with stinging insects, you know.
Well, yes. Okay.
So we do suit them up head to toe with boots and gloves so that they are fully protected. And
how about you? Do you get fully protected, or are you free floating out there with the bees?
Nowadays, I usually just wear a bee jacket. I like my hair products too much.
Okay.
So I usually keep my head covered. And, of course, I only get, one set of eyes, and one sting to the eye could lose an eye forever.
Right.
So I'm pretty careful about wearing something on my head all the time when I'm opening a beehive.
Right.
Gloves are optional, and usually I've gone to just a jacket. I don't wear a full suit anymore. I'll just wear a jacket and jeans. Sometimes, like today, I did get a sting through my jeans, and okay, it happens. I just moved wrong, surprised a bee, and she got me. Okay, whatever. But
she also gave up her life.
She did.
She did. I mean, when you think about that, I have a question, and you're going to say, does a bee know that they're going to give up their life if they sting? I mean, that would be interesting to know.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So how many students are in the program at John Dillahuo now?
We have just under 100. I think the number's right around 92 to 95 right
program.
now in the whole school. Right? I think we just renovated, we just opened this school year another 2 more residence halls, so we could increase from like 80 something to 110, I believe. Mm-hmm. So we haven't quite filled all the beds yet, but we constantly have new applicants, and we do accept new students at the semester break. So if students are interested, they can still apply and come in mid-year.
What do you find fascinating about John Dillahuo as an agricultural school, and about the uniqueness of it in our state?
Well, I think it's hands-on. We are the only agricultural school of its kind in the nation. So we are...
In the nation?
In the nation. There is no other governor's school for agriculture anywhere else in the country except for South Carolina.
Now, there are other agricultural schools.
Schools, typically universities,
okay,
but not high school, residential high schools. So this is new. And for those who aren't familiar with the governor's school concept, it's a residential high school for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students. They live on campus. We do have a few day students that commute in, but for the most part, all of the students live on campus. They come in Sunday evenings. They're in class Monday through Friday. They leave Friday afternoon, a lot of them, and go home. But if you live 2 to 3 hours away and you want to stay for the weekend, you can. We have residential advisors that provide good supervision, good activities, and there's never a dull moment around campus because there's either goats that are getting out or there's something to be done on campus, or pigs being born, or there's something happening. But what I love about it the most is the hands-on learning. It's not just in a book. Most high schools that have ag programs, you have one ag teacher, and you're limited to that ag teacher's background and their expertise. And, as much as we would love for them to be an expert in all these fields, it's not physically possible.
Right.
And the resources are limited. And here at this agricultural school, we have a huge working farm. We have cow herds, and we have horses, and we have goats, and we have pigs, and we have chickens, and we do eggs, and our goal is to be 50% sustainable, meaning we are producing what we're eating and what we're using, and we're showing the students farm to table, this is what you can do.
Well, it is interesting where when you ask a young person, where does your food come from? Where do they tell you? The grocery store, of course, right? Or fast food restaurant, right? Yes.
We've kind of lost that. We really have. So
as you work, and so how long have you actually been working at the school?
I started a year ago, March. So I started with 6 bee colonies, and my focus was the bees initially for the first 4 to 5 months. We wanted to be sure. They had started bees with volunteers early in the first year or 2 of the school and weren't successful. And so they had asked me about it, and I had said, I'll see if I can find somebody for you. Because at the time I was president of the State Beekeepers Association. And so I would go to bee conferences and talk to beekeepers, and I'd say, you should go work with bees at John Dillahuo. And they were like, where's that? McCormick, where's that?
Right.
And when they finally found out where it was, they're like, I'm not going all the way out there.
Right.
Kind of thing. Meanwhile, I live 30 to 35 minutes from campus.
Right.
And honestly, it's my dream job. It is, I don't have to put on dress clothes. I can wear jeans and I can go work bees all day and wear a ball cap if I want to, and it'd be just fine.
It'd be just fine?
It'd be just fine. And I can just go enjoy it and work with students. And so I went down and talked to the farm manager, and we hit it off real well. And he said, well, what would it take for you to come? And I said, well, okay. And he said, come on, when can you start?
So you literally have developed this program.
Yes.
Really. I mean, they did have, I guess they had a couple of beehives or something.
They had some equipment.
Right.
And so basically I came in, we ordered the bees, and then the Duke Energy grant came in. Then
Right,
that
I wanted
summer,
to talk about that, right?
Oh my goodness. $25,000 was, I mean, they kept telling me you have more money to spend. And I was like, oh, you know.
Why did Duke do this? Do you know why Duke did this?
Well, the Duke Energy Foundation has a huge mission of sustainability. And they want to put money behind what is going to help us be sustainable long term.
Right.
And the focus on the agriculture and the focus on the bees and the plight of the bees right now, which is a whole nother subject that we can maybe touch on.
Sure.
But they wanted to give the money to help us get this program off the ground. And so we kind of put in a proposal for the grant. They asked us to submit a proposal. And so we got all the woodenware to support about 25 colonies. And then the students went to work all last fall and winter building all of this equipment, hundreds of frames and boxes and all of this that's going to support the bees. And also all the stainless steel equipment for a certified honey house. So you're talking a big, huge extractor.
A honey house. Now, wait a minute.
Yes.
These are high school students, and you're talking about a honey house. I'm sorry. We got to talk about this.
It's not that kind of honey. It's not that kind of honey.
But the honey house. Now, what goes on there? I think I have I think you gave me some pictures, and I've got one here. Let's see, which one of the house that shows the equipment and everything.
Yeah, maybe a student extracting some honey there,
Yep,
probably.
I've got that one right there, getting the honey off the screens. Number 4, yes. So we have number 4 that we can show everybody. There we go. How about that? Yep, there she is scraping it off, right?
Yes, yes. So the honey house is where we bring all of the boxes of honey into inside where we can process it. And so we have to take the cappings off the honey and we put the frames into an extractor and it kind of spins it like a washing machine does.
Right.
And it pulls the honey out of the frames and it drips down and then it filters through into a big 5-gallon buckets, and then we'll process it process it meaning filtering it so that we can bottle it for sale. So
now you also had some winning here on your bees this year. Tell us about this? Yes.
I mentioned earlier we had 6 dedicated students last year. Of those 6,
yes,
2 completed all the requirements to become certified beekeepers with the South Carolina Master Beekeeping Program. So those 2 entered honey that they had extracted from their hives at the State Beekeepers Association, which just celebrated their 50th anniversary in July.
This just happened within the last month or so, didn't it? Months?
The honey show was in July, but these girls also won recently with the 4-H Honeybee Project. So the girls entered their honey this summer, both won in their categories, blue ribbons.
Yes.
And because they were novice, well, they're competing against adults who've been beekeeping forever. And I tried to prepare them and say, this is a learning experience. Not sure how you're going to do, but we're going to put our best foot forward.
Right.
So they entered the novice category, which both of them had to compete against each other for that.
Right.
And then their honeys, believe it or not, we have 4 bee yards across our 1,300-acre campus.
You have 4 bee what?
4 what we call bee yards. In other words, we have 6 colonies here, and then we have 4 colonies here, and we have another 4 colonies over here. And the locations were chosen based on the flora and fauna of that area. Like one is with blackberry and beautyberry on the back part of our campus. Another is on the edge of a hayfield. Another is on the edge of our vegetable garden.
So I guess that would affect how the honey tastes.
Yes, because the
honey, I could do this.
Yes, yes. See, honey takes on the taste of its source.
Well, when you buy it in a grocery store, you'll see quite a clover, like red clover,
yes.
This type of thing.
But have you noticed in the grocery store, all that honey is the same color?
Yes, yes.
That's a problem. because all the nectar in nature is not all the same color.
Right.
What happens is these commercial entities will ultra process the honey. In other words, they flash heat it, send it through microfilters, taking the pollen and the good stuff out of the honey so that that color is all consistent. But the problem is they're taking a lot of the good nutrition out of it when they do that. So
it's really
here's
like
my plug.
Okay, here's your plug. Go for it.
Buy from a local beekeeper. Know the source. Get it from a local beekeeper that does not process your honey.
Well, I know quite often they say if you have allergies or something, and if you just take a little taste of honey, that you'll build up resistance to your local allergies.
Because if you buy local honey that still has those minute pollen particles in it, you're kind of microdosing yourself with pollen over the course of a year. Start now.
Right.
So that by the time spring gets here and everything starts blooming, you will have already had a little bit of it every day for
and
months.
Built up a resistance. Wow. So let's see. I see Susan Jones, third, black jar.
Oh, okay. But the year before,
yes,
I won black jar.
What's black jar? What's black jar?
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask. I didn't care about whether it was things, but
black jar is judged on taste only, purely on taste, which means Susan Marie's Bees honey last year was judged the best in the state.
The best in the state. And that's your honey.
The state. That's my honey.
Personally,
now,
you sell honey?
From here in Hodges. I do. I have a limited amount that I sell every year, and I typically sell out by about January. So I do a real big push. In fact, I'll be selling at the State Fair next Tuesday.
Will you?
I will. I will be at the State Fair, South Carolina Beekeepers booth next Tuesday, and I will have my honey featured. So come see us at the fair.
Oh, absolutely.
And I will be selling my honey next week. And then the next day, on Wednesday, I will have some of my beekeeping students with me, and we will be doing, the booth is kind of divided in half. One side is educational, the other side sells honey. So on one day I sell honey, the next day I will have my students with me, and we will be doing the education side. We'll have an observation beehive there where you can look at bees through a glass, live bees, and there's also the honey show with all the ribbons and the entries and stuff there also on display that people can see.
So will the students be entering to, will they be judging honey down there at the fair?
Yes, I did have students enter honey in the State Fair. We will find out. They are judging today. In fact, the decision's probably already been made. We just don't know it yet. Yes.
So what about the rest of the school? Now, will they be taking any heifers or any goats or any of this stuff down there to the fair?
Yes. Actually, I believe rabbits are the first one. I think they're showing rabbits Friday or Saturday this week. And then next week, FFA Day is on Tuesday, so the students will be down there on Tuesday. Then some stay overnight with me to be there on Wednesday. Is the goat showing, and then starting I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the cows. So there's a lot going on. We have students. In fact, we had to have several meetings at school to decide who's driving what truck and what trailer combination to get all the different entities where they need to be.
So this is a big deal for them.
It is a huge big deal.
And how have they done in the past?
Oh, we've done great. Check out our Facebook page. We've got several. We've got an FFA page and a 4-H page and the Don Delahow. We all share between each other. We have a new apiculture page, which is just launched. There's not a lot there, but we're starting to build it. But when students win things, they're posted. So go check it out. In fact, recently they went to a livestock show and they brought home grand champion.
They cleaned up, huh?
Our students are very competitive. It's very important for them to go and do well.
That is terrific. Now, how many teachers do we have down there teaching? Just roughly.
Ooh.
You
We
said
probably have 15 to 20. We have a whole ag staff of teachers, and then you have your core teachers. You have several science teachers, English,
so
math.
they still have to do the regular stuff too.
Yes, you still have your core subjects, and then all of the extra support that all comes with that.
Wow, that is terrific. Well, I definitely have to come down. We have to make a trip down there and do a show from down there at Delahow. I think that could be really interesting.
We would love to have you come down. In fact, The John Dale Howe Foundation, we are a state-run entity, so we have a separate foundation that handles any gifts and things for the school and also helps students in need. And the foundation organizes tours. So if you're interested in tours, I've posted it on our apiculture page, but you can go either through email, through the website at the school, say, hey, I'm interested in a tour. We'll get you connected to the right people. Typically, we do them once or twice a month. We actually take you around the campus. We show you it all and give you an opportunity to see what's going on.
You know, I think it's so interesting. At one point, they were trying to figure out what the heck to do with De La Howe. I mean, that place was like a ball and chain around the state's neck, you know, as far as how to turn it into something useful, because it had to stay with the state. They had all these conditions. And, you know, can you just imagine what John De La Howe was saying today?
Oh, I think you would be amazed. Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a miraculous transformation, really.
And
has.
it really hasn't been that many years. How many years has it been?
I think we're in our fifth.
I was going to say 5 or 6 years
think
since they
5.
kind of decided to make that change. Now, do you have a lot of students that, like, say, would go to Clemson from the ag school?
There are a number that have gone to Clemson. One of my B students from last year, in fact, he texted me during one of the first Clemson game this year. He texted me, he goes, guess who I was in a bee yard with yesterday? And he sent me a picture of him with our Clemson apiculturist, Ben Powell. He is working to get a club active going on campus again. And here is my student Blake was, you know, he was like,
right there,
I'm going to be with him and I'm going to work bees. And I'm like, yes. So Blake is doing international agribusiness and just kind of very talented student. And he is just anything he can get his hands on, you know, to learn and to be multi, you know
what
rounded.
is so important about this is we have had for so many years the tendency to put kids in boxes and expect them to either go to technical school or to college. With the agricultural school, there just opens up a whole new door, doesn't it?
It most certainly does. And that's what's so fun about it is within this teaching environment, a student can try one pathway and say, I'm not real wild about that. I could try this one. Or I can try this one. Or maybe I can do both. And it just opens doors for them that they would have never realized otherwise.
Right. So these are some of the things, and I just thought it would be so interesting to have. We are talking with Susan Jones. She's been into bees for over 20 years. She's a South Carolina master beekeeper, recipient of the South Carolina Beekeeper of the Year Award. She served as the director of the South Carolina Master Beekeeper Program and as the first woman president of the South Carolina Beekeepers Association. Now, what does it take to become a master beekeeper?
A lot of time working bees.
So you got to get up close and personal with bees, huh? Yes.
Yes. Actually, the master beekeeping program in South Carolina is 4-tiered. You start with the beginning level. You keep bees for a year. You have to do basic test, basic field test, and just some basic stuff. Your second journeyman level it requires 2 more years after that, so 3 years total in beekeeping. And I would say the journeyman test is one of the hardest because it's more rote memory. You have to know a lot of detailed technical terms, names for things in a variety of areas, not just bee biology, but you have to know diseases and pests and all different kinds of, honey processing and all this kind of stuff. You've got to really know it. And alongside and similar to the Master Gardener program, there is a whole community service aspect to it. So you're doing teaching, you're doing things for publics. Like I'm right now considered a Master Craftsman candidate.
Craftsman candidate.
And I would be the first woman to make it if I get that far. I need to do a 2-year research project. So I'm in the formulation stage of that.
Formulation. Okay.
Yes. But being on this radio station would count as one of my public service credits towards that
Well,
master
I will
craft.
sign off for you.
There
no
you
problem.
go. There you go. I have you on
And
tape.
you have a video
Yes.
right here that you'll have to show on it
Yes.
on Facebook. Yes.
But it's a whole process. And
Right.
the most people stop at the master beekeeper level in that there's a number of things you have to do. There's interviews, there's testing, there's field work. You've got to do a lot of teaching because the masters are considered the master teachers. You know, we're the ones that are teaching the
Wait a
beginning.
minute.
Yes.
The master.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about that. We laugh amongst ourselves as masters going, you call us master, but we're just the ones that weren't afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
And just get our hands dirty and just try and just keep trying even when we failed, so that we could work through. I think of a master beekeeper as a problem solver.
Right.
Because
You have
every
to be
year,
naturally curious.
yes, and in fact, I tell my students the best tool in your toolbox is the big O, and by that I mean observation. You have to train your eyes to see what the bees are seeing and what the bees are experiencing, so that you can work with them to help them be successful. Instead of put them in a box and say you're going to be this way. No, you're going to fail. You have to be able to work with them and. Every year, you know, agriculture, weather patterns change, seasons change,
Well, what are
plants
some
change.
of the things that can cause you to lose your bees?
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Bees have a lot of hurdles that they have to deal with right now. Climate's one of them. You know, you've got pollution. Mm-hmm. You have contaminated water and air. You have forage or habitat loss. You have all this building. It just, every time I drive from here to Greenville and I see another swath of land just
cut across.
totally bulldozed.
I agree. I hate it. And they're not even building anything on it. They
Right.
just cut it
And
across.
you know, it will take 50 years or more for that whole ecosystem of that piece of property to recover.
Right.
And we are joking ourselves if we think that, you know, if they legislate that, the builder just has to plant 1 or 2 trees. Oh, come on. No, you're destroying a whole ecosystem when you do that. And you can get me on my
High horse?
Your
high bee? Your high bee?
Get me on that pulpit. I'll just but the habitat loss, you have invasive species. You have, you know, like the yellow-legged hornet. I've mentioned to you before we went on air. We
The
had
yellow-legged hornet.
Yes, it is a hornet that came in to our through the port of Savannah 2 years ago. They are not native to the U.S., but they hawk, and they are
They hawk. What do you mean they hawk?
they fly outside of a bee colony and they pick off bees, pluck off their heads, and take the bodies back to their nests, and they feed them to their developing bees. They're carnivorous.
Ooh.
Okay, they will decimate a whole bee colony in a matter of a few hours. They have them now. They've kind of taken over in Europe. They weren't able to stop them in Europe, and it has changed beekeeping forever in Europe.
So how do they handle that in Europe?
Well, we're learning. In fact, Ben Powell just went over to Apimundia, which is a big bee conference that was held there this year, I think, in France. And
I'm sorry, he had to go to France to learn all
I
about
think
this.
so. I think so. But he actually, I think, contracted COVID while he was there.
Oh, Lord.
And so I have not been able to talk to him since he's been back, but I'm curious to find out what he learned. But for now, we have through our Clemson's Plant Industries, through Brad Cavan, who is our state bee inspector, they are putting out traps by the thousands, all in Beaufort, Jasper, and Colleton counties, to try and trap these hornets, to try to eradicate them, find the nests that eradicate them. So we're hoping to be able to stop them. It's not looking good because they are still spreading, even now at the 2-year mark. So, but invasive species are a whole nother thing. Loss of habitat, just lots of things that are against our bees. And then, of course, the elephant in the room, it's the chemicals. If you look back 100 years ago, the chemical use in our nation has just gone through the roof exponentially.
Sure.
We use a chemical on everything. And
Well, you know, that's because we've got to have it now, right? We can't wait for the thing to die. We want it to die right now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And if a little bit is good, then a lot would be better, right?
Right, right.
So I am not an anti-chemical person. I would like to say let's all just be a responsible
Exactly.
chemical person. Use, choose chemicals, target your pest. Use only what you need for that pest. Don't just indiscriminately treat.
Right.
And then use something that is the least toxic.
Right.
Don't use the nuclear option if you can just use a fly swatter, just be smart about it.
Right.
And another thing I've said for years is that you have various entities that have initiatives, but none of them are talking to each other. The chemical companies aren't talking to the farmers, and the farmers aren't talking to the,
Right.
the politicians, and people are not working together. They're all
Right.
fighting amongst themselves for the bigger turf. And instead of working together for the better, we need to take a lesson from the bees. If we don't all work together, we're not going to survive. And, the bees know that. And if you don't work all together, the colony's
So
not
what
going to survive.
happens if we don't have how healthy is Greenwood County? Let's just talk about that. How healthy is Greenwood County?
We are primarily rural for the most part.
Right.
So I live here. I would rather live here than in other counties and more developed
right.
areas.
Right.
Just because I like living out in the country where I know I don't have a neighbor next door that's, now I do know there are some neighborhoods and people that are constantly spraying and doing all kinds of things. And the mosquito spraying, I know I see some of that. Some towns constantly are doing that kind of thing. That's death to bees.
That's death to them.
Yeah.
So when you have a bad mosquito season and they're out there spraying all around, they're destroying the bees.
Think about this, though, Ann. If you're killing the mosquitoes, you're using a pesticide to kill the mosquitoes.
Right.
You're also killing the beneficial insects that eat the mosquitoes.
Right.
So basically, you're making the problem worse instead of making the problem better.
Well, okay. All right.
So instead of maybe getting rid of instead, why don't we just get rid of stagnant water, or use the treatments that will prevent the mosquito life cycle,
right.
instead of something that is going to be sprayed into the air.
Birth control for mosquitoes. Yes.
Instead of killing everything.
Right.
I think like I said, we go for the nuclear option first, and let's rethink this.
Well, I think when you put it in the terms of what kind of food you want to be able to eat, and just your very simple story about how when you had bees, you had all this great produce and everything, more than what you could actually use, and then the bees got destroyed, and guess what? You didn't have any good fruit that next year, or vegetables. It made a real impression on you, didn't it?
It sure did. It sure did.
And so I think that is important. Now, if somebody is interested in learning more about bees and how to get involved in bees, maybe you've had some ideas that you'd like to. It sounds you want to wear the white outfit. We'll just go with that.
Okay. Well, if you're interested in wanting to get started with bees,
Yes.
we have here in the Lakelands area, the Lakelands Beekeepers Association.
Right.
You can find them on Facebook. They meet the second Tuesday of the month
Right.
at the Church of the Nazarene on Cokesbury.
Right.
And they meet once a month. Come join the club. Come, don't even have to pay membership. Just come. Start to get to know beekeepers. In the spring, they typically run some beginning beekeeping classes. So you could take a class, learn how to keep bees, decide, is this what I really want to do or not?
Now, how intense is it to take care of the bees? I mean,
It's not like it used to be, let's say. Occasionally I'll meet these, I'll call them old geezers that have been keeping bees before the 80s, okay?
Before the 80s.
Before the
Okay.
80s.
Okay.
Because in the 80s, we had two significant pests come into the U.S., the small hive beetle
Right.
and the varroa mite. both of them have caused us to keep bees very differently in the U.S. now. The varroa mite in particular, it vectors disease. And if you don't manage for them, you will lose your bees. So prior to those, though, you could get a bee colony, leave it out there, do nothing, harvest honey off of it, and leave it alone, and it just
Produced.
be fine.
Right.
Now, because of the pests, if you don't manage and help your bees, they're not surviving on their own year after year. So learning how to manage that, and I find those that take a class and actually have a mentor, have somebody that kind of walks with them that first year or two, are those that are the most successful. Those DIYers that try to do it on their own, a lot of times they aren't successful their first year or two, and after they lose their bees a time or two, they quit. And I hate to see people invest that kind of money into a new venture and not succeed.
Right.
And I have found that over the years that a club is a good way to do that. We are establishing a new club in McCormick County. McCormick County has not had a bee club.
Wow. Okay.
And so we are hosting it at the John De La House School. And we're calling it Club Apis. And our students have formed the club organization this first year. And we've already got speakers lined up through December. We have Alan Johnson coming next Monday night. We'd love to have people join us. He's going to talk on varroa management. Alan Johnson is a master beekeeper, and he owns Johnson Bee Supply in Williston. So he is a seasoned beekeeper as well as a business owner in the beekeeping industry. He raises queens and some bees, as well as has all the equipment. And that's where we got a good bit of our woodenware for our bees.
Right.
And so he's going to come and talk. And then the next month we have a gal coming. She has gone with University of Florida to study bees in Southeast Asia. And so she's going to come and share her story in November. And then we have another gal coming in December to help us make honey candy. So we'd love to have more people come join us if you're just curious.
Right.
I'm hoping to kind of gauge some interest and plan at probably early December to do an introductory to beekeeping. Here's what you'd be getting into, you know, just kind of an evening, an hour, informally talk. And then those that are really serious at the school, we plan to do a beginning beekeeping class for adults as part of our adult education program at the school.
I didn't know you had an adult education program.
We do. we actually have a whole education center where we do canning classes. We do various, sometimes certification. We've got a firefighter class going on in the evenings. Right now, there's just lots of different things. Come on, we have this wonderful facility.
Absolutely.
We might as well use it to benefit the community. And so we're going to open up beekeeping to adults too. And eventually we'd love to do more bee camps and things in the summer, as well as workshops and those kinds of things. But we're just getting the program started here. So, yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me say it. Yeah, right, Susan. Yeah, right, Susan. I think it's great. I think it's great. Well, this has been a most interesting hour. What would you like people to know as we get ready to close out?
Well, make pollinators a priority. Plant things for them. You know, really, really focus on what you can do, because it will make a difference. If everybody does something,
right,
we can make a huge impact.
Well, I think everybody likes the idea of a garden of some type, right?
Yes.
But when you start working that garden in 100-degree heat, it kind of pulls you back a little bit.
Sure does.
I had a garden out there in my backyard. I was like going to do all this. I said, nah, I think we're good. It looks great. Let's just leave it the way it is. Because it was so hot this summer. So hot. How about the heat? Does that affect bees?
They actually need their brood nest at about 95 degrees in order for their brood to be viable. So they're fine with the heat for the most part, and they ventilate.
They're hot mamas. Is that what you want to tell me?
I love it.
Well, this has been fascinating. Susan, if people want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, we have it at delahow.sc.gov is our website, and you'll see on the top tab, farm. Click farm. I'm the very top one. It says apiculture. Click on there and you will see my picture and a way to contact me by phone or email. I would love to answer your question or connect you with someone beekeeping in your area. If you're not in this local area, you can always go to the scstatebeekeepers.com website and click under clubs. And you can find a club. There's a map. You can find beekeepers in your area through the state organization as well.
Well, this has been so much fun, but it's also so important to our whole world, isn't it?
It sure is.
So I am so glad that Carl came up to me and said, I listened to you on the radio in my tractor. If he hadn't said that, I might not have met you, Susan.
There you go. There you go.
So anyways, thank you so much for coming out here today.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Ann.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can cue some music here as we close out the show. You know, I'll be back in the morning, so you tune in the morning. We'll see what's decided to work or not work as we carry on at WCRS Radio right here today. So let's cue the music, and is it going to work? Yes, it is. Take it away.
Well, that was fun.